My name is John Susa, lead pastor of the Caring Place, located on the east side of Indianapolis, a global in-our-city church. We have 3 services, 2 services at our central location, 9 and 11 o'clock, and then concurrently at 11 o'clock is our Spanish campus that meets just on the opposite side of where our central main auditorium is located. My favorite part about the church isn't just that I get to call it home, but truly it's its global heart that from its foundation, starting in the basement of a home in 1947, the families that were gathered said, even before we support a pastor, we want to be supporting a vision and a mission bigger than us. So they started supporting a missionary who, of all places, was a missionary in Venezuela, which, tying things together, just happened to be my home as I grew up as a missionary kid from the time I was 3 till I was 18. So having that global heart is definitely something that allows me to say this isn't just our home, but it allows us to go, we're building a kingdom home as well. So let's invite anyone here, near and far, to join us on this wonderful, wonderful adventure called Grace. A unique, distinct element is I know birds of a feather tend to flock together. Different regions, may have a certain concentric group or circle. The unique position that the Caring Place has been a part of is while a mile north of us is an African American church, a mile south of us is pretty much a Caucasian church, but right in the middle between that, there are 40 different nationalities that call the Caring Place home. And to have that type of diversity, especially as divisive as the world is, as broken as society continues to be, I love being able to gather together throughout the week or on the weekend, whether that's, some of our small groups throughout the city, and for everybody to look around and just be reminded that that's what heaven is going to look like, and to step in and continue to see that diversity. It's a unique place to be when you realize Indianapolis isn't near a border, but yet God has brought these lives together, kind of like a modern day church in Rome element where Paul is reflecting and all these people, he's not even been to Rome yet. He wants to get there, and yet all these lives are connected from other global and geographical locations that God has kind of strung together to create a beautiful tapestry. So to see that diversity and to remind people in the midst of the tensions, yes, the tension is real, but we get to look around and just be reminded that this is a hope we have. And together we get to be a part of that fabric to say, we can be united. We're not going to look the same. And that's a beautiful thing, but we want to be united in a vision and a mission that's bigger than us. So let's step out and make that happen. The purpose behind the vision and the mission, honestly, is that tagline that we've just started adding. So we don't really have it on print, but we do want to be that church that is a global in our city church, that we don't want to just be so broad-sided that, we're seeing the ends of the earth, but our neighbors continue into brokenness and deception. And we don't want to swing the pendulum the other way, where we're so focused on our backyard that, let the world handle itself. So when you've got a mission where early on, I don't know if it's become more of a trend, but I'm grateful that about 12 years ago, I'm meeting with all of my pastors, their spouses, our elders, and we just map through some stuff to say, what is it that we're supposed to do? Like we've got an amazing heart, but how do we define that? So we were able just to come up with the statement that I didn't know anybody else had. And about a year later, Israel Houghton comes out with an album that's got a couple of it, but we said, we're going to love God, we're going to love people, and we want to share God's love with people. And to say that's our mission allows us to keep that vertical alignment and that horizontal responsibility in line. And then when we were talking about vision a couple of years later, and that's funny, it may seem a little backwards, but we were already moving. We just wanted some alignment. So to bring that greater, column together, that parallel move, we wanted that picture of the future that we were like, yes, that's why we're here. That can excite us now and ongoing. That's when we said, okay, our vision is going to be, let's change our world by reaching the one through the transforming love of Christ. So that that then with alignment goes, let's every day when we uncover how amazing God's love and grace is, I don't want to just taste and see he's good and leave satisfied. I want to leave hungrier. And having experienced his presence, the natural thing ought to be, I want others to experience this presence as well. And once they've uncovered that, why don't we step into other arenas together and grow? I don't ever want the mission and the vision, having reached somebody for Christ, I don't want them lost with a lack of discipleship, or broken in a lack of discipleship. I want them to see that, but I don't want to so put them in this almost learn, where it's just consuming. I want them learning and growing and sharing. And that's where we're going to continue to see God's kingdom move. So that beauty of, okay, let's bring people in together. It's God's word. He's the one who gave us, the great commandments, which was like 1A and 1B. It wasn't point 1 and point 2. No, love the Lord your God with all your mind, soul, and strength. And then he adds, and love your neighbor as yourself. It wasn't like secondary. He's like, no, this is in the same flow, the same vein. And then to see that great commission, go into all your world. Go preach the good news. That reality that we get to uncover, we get to share. We've got the answer to the world's greatest question, greatest wrestling, the greatest problem. We've got the answer. And the more I share the answer, I'm not lacking. I somehow grow in that. So let's step in and make it happen. Having such a global-hearted but yet community-centered drive, mission, and focus, it's allowed us to be in our neighborhoods. So for 30 years, we've literally had a team that walks the streets, just connecting with the families, the kids. One of the things I've been intentional about is I didn't ever want to be a church that spoke of those kids. I always wanted it to be our kids. And you can't have that kind of relationship if you're not present. So this predates me. I've only been at the church 14 years. So I'm grateful. I get to build on that living legacy. But as we've continued to move, I love that we get to focus on a Christmas store, which you're talking over 1,000 inner city kids that our church gets to make Christmas happen. And it's not your normal Christmas event. It's just something that allowed us to go when we're in our communities, all of the kids that are attending, we're racking up the points so that for Christmas, we set up this Christmas store. And even with COVID, we were able to pull this off through God's amazing grace and protection. It had to look different. It was absolutely different, but we had, the toys set up, and to have one of our volunteers be able to walk one of our kids through the quote unquote store, and they use the points that they've earned not to buy themselves a gift, but they're able to quote unquote buy their families, their moms, their siblings a Christmas gift. They're learning what giving's all about, not what I can get, but what I'm able to give. And to see their eyes light up when they're walking through, to see, whether it's a bike, for a big brother, whether it's, a Barbie or a puzzle or a game, just whatever, for any of their siblings, to see them when they're purchasing for their moms, or a dad or a grandmother, but then to realize we then are able to have a gift for them as well, so that they receive that blessing, as they're walking through, to see that heart fostered. It's allowing us to then reach families. So often when we were trying to do this, we were trying to focus just on families, but families are all the more preoccupied. Activities, events, we're overrun with so many things, but this allowed us an opportunity. Once we were reaching, these amazing kids and getting to call them our kids, parents were wanting to be a part of it. They saw the investment, the care into their kids, allowing us to go, we just want to serve you. With COVID, the automatic, this just speaks to the amazing team that I get to serve. They were stepping in, connecting with gleaners, stepping in with other places that were saying, hey, we have food. We've got perishable items. We've got all these things. We just need somebody to help distribute it. So, it took some creativity, figuring out how to bring it in, but you're talking some makeshift drive-through blessings, if you will, where right, in the covered canopy, or, just this area where we had so some kind of awning. Cars would be able to come up, team would be masked and gloved, but we had already prepackaged these items. And as they're coming, yes, we're just saying, hey, we want to be a place that cares. So if you have a moment, you'd end up with a line of cars, but why not take 30 seconds and pray God's protection, covering over them, and just remind them God's in control. Our world may be out of control, but God's in control. And he wants to remind you that he's working and providing anything that we could do to remove a barrier between where God is and where they may find themselves spiritually, because we recognize we don't save anybody. God does the saving, but let's remove those things. And if we can get them to meet, then we win in God's amazing work. My favorite part about Shine.fm isn't just the amazing name, because if there's anything our world needs, it's lighthouse. And I love a lighthouse that is going through, ironically, airwaves, through audio moves, but yet sometimes it's through hearing that we can see. Like, I don't know the unique element of that, but I hear something and then it lights up inside of me. So the fact that we get to partner with an incredible team at Shine.fm, Shine is able to do things we can't do. I love that I don't have to replicate what Shine is doing. I don't have to be Shine, but I can shine being a part of what already is in place. So it's that unique thing where I love that, yes, there's technology and you see that move through radio. Yes, you see it through whether that's people, zooming in or, having to do digital school, whatever those mediums are. But yet radio still is an impact in so many amazing ways. And I'm not trying to be gratuitous, but I always know when my wife drives my car. This is 100% real, because when I turn it on, I have to adjust my seat, one, but two, Shine.fm is already on and blaring. I'm the guy, when I turn my car off, I'm going to turn the radio off, because I just lights off, that kind of a thing. My wife likes to leave it on so that when she gets in, that's the automatic aura that is moving. And I automatically chuckle every single time, because I know Shine is moving and we get to be a part of that. We're so excited because a couple of years ago, we decided to be a part of National Serve Day, where I want to say it was started with the ARC church planting movement, where they just wanted churches to not just focus on themselves, but make sure they serve their communities well. So it's both this beautiful moment where we are saying, let's not just, redo or relaunch our own church building. Let's not just focus here. Let's not just focus on, supporting, kids through compassion. Let's make sure we're in our community, not just showing up and blowing up, with an evangelistic event, but let's invest in our communities. And one of the things that we did with National Serve Day is we started adopting for a day one of our local schools, so that during a summer break, we can go in, invest on their property, invest in their locale, so that there was just this realization, as much as we love the church, our schools, our teachers actually have greater time influencing them than we do. I know, present residual pandemic elements, so there's the digital side for a lot of people, but still those school buildings, a lot of them, anything that is not being used will break down, but anything that is constantly used will also break down. So we, even last year, when we said, okay, during the summer, we're going to serve one of our elementary schools. Yes, we were having to be smart, be creative. How do we serve? How do we care? But to see the glimmer of love and hope in the school's principal, the school's administrator, for them to send photos when the teachers all gathered, because all we did was redo their center atrium, which, just had overgrown tree and a fern. We were able to completely re-landscape it, so it's summertime, so nothing like sweating, together, but it was almost physically needed as well for some of us, because been in lockdown, doing these different things, we have an opportunity to spread out out, and work hard. It's an atrium, so it's outdoors. But for us to do it, not because this was our building, but it was our backyard in one of our schools. So we're going to be able to do that again this year. So on July 10, we're adopting another school and we're working out the details, but we're already going to begin announcing that so that we get as many hands to show up to bless one of our schools, so that whether they see it that way or not, they're blessing our kids, they're blessing our families, giving them a foundation in education on the intellectual side. And when we bless them, we want to be able to care for those who are caring for our kids. The beautiful part of that Serve Day, though, is it's not just our church. It's not just, the caring place, making this happen, but there are thousands of churches across the nation that are signing up to serve on that day as well, that they are adopting a school, adopting, a neighborhood, doing something where that day they're saying, let's give time, let's give talent, and let's give treasure. What we've been blessed with, let's go be a blessing and make an impact in this community.